joined Mothers Out Front during the pandemic, actually. Because of the pandemic, many things were not happening, but eventually they reached out to me. They were very approachable, very dynamic ladies, very smart, passionate, they're moms, and just very personable. So it was not difficult to be a part of the team, even though I felt that I really had nothing that I could contribute.
Mothers Out Front is a wonderful group of moms and allies who are fighting for a clean, livable future for our children.
It's easier to get involved than you think it is. There are a lot of things that you can do that make a big difference. Joining Mothers Out Front as a member has a huge impact.
Thank you, Bamina, for the awesome video, and thank you all for the great work that you've done this year. We're going to ask if you would like to make a shout out, appreciation to a fellow member. Please use the chat, and then we'll be reading those out later. And I'm going to turn this over now to Kelsey, who's going to introduce our special guest.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen and Anya, for that great introduction. I want to first thank the amazing planning team that organized tonight's member celebration. Anya, Ellen, Shauna Ellis, our administrative associate, and Camila Gallardo, our director of communications. Thank you also to Bamina Ranjit, our senior multimedia producer, for the beautiful video, to River Mizell, our social media specialist, and to Ann Roach, our Deputy Director of Communications, for all the behind the scenes support to make this evening possible. So thank you all. So now I have the incredible privilege to be introducing our special guest this evening, Maeve Higgins. Maeve, welcome. Maeve is a comedian, actress, contributing writer. Maeve is a comedian, actress, contributing writer for the New York Times, and author of 4 books, including Maeve in America, and her forthcoming book, due out in February, Tell Everyone on This Train I Love Them. Maeve is host of the hit podcast, Maeve in America. She is co-host of the climate-themed podcast, Mothers of Invention. She's the star of the 2019 feature film Extraordinary, and a regular panelist on the NPR radio show Rate, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Maeve has has performed comedy all over the world, and originally from Cove, Ireland, but has been living in New York, in the city, since 2014. Maeve, it is so wonderful to have you here with us this evening. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Kelsey, thank you so much. It's so fun to be here. And I've been following your organization's work, and it's so cute to see everybody like bigging each other up in the comments. You know, I just love it. Keeps us all sane, working hard and united, people stepping up. I'm very into this cause, which is the future. And I'm not a mother, not that I know of. So unless, I don't know if all of you have different information, and I should be somewhere collecting somebody from school. But as far as I know, I'm not a mom, but I care so much and I just love what you do. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight.
Well, thank you. It has been so much fun reading about you and learning about all the amazing things you've done in the few days leading up to tonight. And my short introduction just barely begins to capture all of it. One of the aspects of your career that's so striking, Maeve, is your range of interests and involvements, which is pretty extraordinary. So 1 minute you're interviewing immigrants to the US for your Maeve in America podcast. And the next you're talking to astrophysicists about the future of human civilization as a co-host on Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson's Star Talk podcast. So it's a pretty amazing range of interests.
I love how you say it like you don't quite believe it. You're like, this one, this curly-haired nutcase from Ireland is allowed to be on all of this. It's true though. I mean, I started off doing comedy, and I think when you do comedy, and I think even when you get involved in the most serious of, problems, for example, climate catastrophe, you have to bring humor. If you don't bring humor, things get very dark very quickly, and also you're not bringing your whole self to it. So I'm interested in lots of things, but I think approaching them through humor is always a good way of coming at it, and it's a good way of learning too, because you're kind of more, I think you're more open-minded, you're more curious when you're laughing, and if you're interested in a lot of things, you get to then do things like wait, don't tell me, which is technically, I think, like a topical panel show is how they frame it, but really it's just a bunch of clowns trying to win a prize. A prize that, by the way, doesn't even exist, because I found that out when I managed to win it one time.
Oh, you did win it one time.
I won it one time.
Yeah,
I don't really know what happened. I think, the other two panelists were really sleepy, and Peter Sagal was feeling sorry for me. And there was a whole host of things that happened that made me win it. So yeah, I mean, try not to be too starstruck, Kelsey, but you are speaking to a one-time winner of Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm starting to get really nervous, maybe.
Yeah, you seem to be. Yeah, just treat me just like a normal person, please.
Okay, I'll try. So I think we all agree that laughter is healing for the soul. And I tell you, we I think at Mothers Out Front could probably use a little more humor, which is one of the many reasons we're so glad that you're here. But one of the strength, like you cover all these different things, you're interested in all these different things. And it seems like, based on the little bit I now know of you, that one of the strands throughout your work is not just an interest in people, but really a love of people. Is that fair? Is that accurate, do you think?
That's very fair. That's very true. In particular, I love Michael B. Jordan. He would be my top person. But in general, I think it does expand to, the human race, because I know that we cause a lot of trouble. But I also know that, the human race is innately worth saving. And I think as parents, that's something that you already realize, because you have these little people around you that you understand are worth fighting for. And so I think something that was interesting for me when I started to get involved in sort of taking action about climate change was this feeling that, like, yeah, it's polar bears, yeah, it's melting glaciers, but really it's people, right? Like it's people that are going to hurt. It's people that are already suffering, even here in America, from the effects of climate change. And so it was really this kind of notion of climate justice, which is kind of human rights and climate change, where they collide. Climate justice is what really hooked me into it, and thinking about, well, okay, when this 5-year-old is 30, what's the planet going to look like? And this 5-year-old could be in Detroit, or this 5-year-old could be in Bangladesh. And I think everybody is equally important, and everybody is, it's just that everybody is not equally represented. So I think that's why it's so wonderful to have organizations like Mothers Out Front, who are fighting for a future that's, not just selfish, right? It's for the wider good, the greater good, and it's for people as well as polar bears. I don't have a problem with polar bears. I mean, I've never met one. I'm sure they're absolutely fine.
Never met one you didn't like either. Yeah,
exactly.
So speaking of climate change, you have done a podcast with former President of Ireland, Mary Robinson, called Mothers of Invention. How did that come about?
So Mary Robinson, who, she's the former president of Ireland, actually. She's a very impressive woman. She was the first woman to become president of Ireland. She was the first mother to become president of Ireland. She's also a lawyer and, you know, I would say in the old school term, a total badass. Like she's not your cuddly grandmother, even though she is a grandmother. She is so serious and so intimidating, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's completely fixated on the importance of climate justice after her work as the UN human rights actually, what was her human rights, I want to say boss, but that doesn't sound quite right, but she was like the head of the UN human rights for a long time.
Right.
Anyway, she was like, feels this urgency that I think we all now share, which is kind of like, okay, we have a limited number of years to try and, you know, mitigate the worst damage and to try and make the future less terrible for the coming generations. And she really feels that urgency. She's traveled all over the world. And again, from the human rights angle, she can see how much injustice there is in the climate catastrophe.
Yeah.
So she wanted to make a movie, actually, Kelsey. She thought, oh, I'll make a film. Somebody can come and film me talking about climate change and that will help change things. And then the production company that she went to said, look, I think a podcast might be more effective because a podcast is, you know, it's relatively easy to make. It's quite democratic. You just have to be online and you can hear a podcast and it's free for people to listen to. So, but, you know, they needed a co-host. And so they kind of wanted somebody, I think the words they used were curious and dopey. And immediately I thought, hey, that sounds like me. So, you know, I mean, I had to actually audition. I had to go and meet her and she really put me through.
So you didn't know her beforehand?
I knew her as, when I was 8 years old, she became president of Ireland.
Right. But you didn't know her personally?
No,
No. Right.
I had never met her. I just kind of admired her from afar. But no, we would not be moving in the same circles. I'm in grimy.
I mean, Ireland's not that big.
I
wasn't sure. I mean, I know Ireland's not that big, so I wasn't sure if you like run into the former president.
Yeah. No, in fact, the latest president of Ireland, his name is Higgins as well, and I do know him. So you're bang on, actually.
There you go. Well, so do you have? I mean, I know Mothers of Invention was really about women, right? Women taking action to combat the climate crisis.
Because you know what? Because climate change is a feminist. It's a feminist issue, which you know.
Yes.
Women and children are affected first and worst whenever there's a climate catastrophe. That is just a fact. Obviously, of course, men and any gender identifying people can identify as feminists. It doesn't just mean women, you know that. Yeah. But really it's a feminist podcast, and that's important because I think so much of what has gotten us into this mess has been a patriarchal culture. And so I think that's really important to face that and to make spaces for women to do our work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you have a favorite story from Mothers of Invention that?
Yeah, I mean, what we did a lot was we spoke to different guests who were on the front lines of, you know, climate action and climate work. So we talked to scientists, we talked to teachers, we talked to farmers, and one man, actually, we spoke to one man. He's a really good feminist, former head of Amnesty International. And I think this one lady that we spoke to, her name is Anne Polina. Now, she started off as a midwife. She's a Indigenous Australian person, Aboriginal person. And so she worked as a midwife, and then she kind of used that, medical knowledge to further a science career. So she really, she's now a science professor, actually. But she's also a water protector. Like, her tribe are in charge of this river. And so she looks after this river. And, you know, to my kind of, I suppose, Western eye or whatever, that those sound very different to me. You know, I'm like, oh, she's a midwife and she's a professor and she also is a water protector. But actually, you know, Indigenous people look after 80% of the biodiversity in the world, even though they're a tiny percentage of the population. So it makes complete sense that she is a caretaker and that she has the expertise needed to protect a river and to protect a mom. And so Anne Polina's story really stuck with me, just because she is so integrated in her life, and also because, and if you listen to the episode she's on, she's so fun, she's so warm, she's so witty, and full of love and laughs a lot. And like, she has some serious work, right, Kelsey? Like, that's not a joke. Like, they're, the Indigenous people in Australia are not listened to even today. And again, she's, a midwife in this rural region. It's not easy, the things that she does. Just like I'm sure what tons of us do here every day. It's not easy, but she approached it with such humor and warmth. And so she really stayed with me, and her story and her work stayed with me.
That's wonderful. Well, I hope everybody listening in tonight will check out the podcast, Mothers of Invention, that Maeve did with
Thank you.
former President of Ireland, Mary Robinson. All right, before we move on to the game, can you share anything about like a current project or what's next for you? Give us a little hint.
I mean, I'm going to be on Wait, Don't Tell Me this week. And I feel like, it's my week. I have done my homework. I understand.
You're feeling lucky. You're feeling lucky.
I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah,
I know all about America. I recently found out there's a place called Paris, but it's in Texas. So I'm ready.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, we will all be tuning in. They'll have the biggest audience ever. So as you know, one of the reasons we ask you here is to play a game where you try to tell truth from fiction.
Right.
Now, I read an interview of you where you said you never really win on Wait, Don't Tell Me. I guess you won once.
Yeah,
but we'll see if tonight's your chance to start a whole new winning streak. You will hear Anya, tell us, what is the topic for tonight's game?
It's all about innovative Mothers Out Front campaigns.
It's all about innovative Mothers Out Front campaigns. So you will hear 4 stories today from our teams around the country. Pick the right one and you will win our undying respect. I'm sorry we don't have anyone with nearly as cool a voice as Bill Curtis for your answering machine. All right, good luck.
Thank you.
So joining us from Colorado Springs, Colorado, we have passionate organizer, mom to an amazing toddler, Stephanie Bowman. Calling in from Austin, Texas, devoted fur baby mom, fundraiser extraordinaire. We have Jill Beckwith. From Cambridge, Massachusetts, mom of 3 teens and involved in all things Mothers Out Front. You cannot miss her if you go to any Mothers Out Front meeting. It's our own Ellen Van Beaver. And hailing from my city, San Francisco, we have SF native, mom of 2, and leader of our local chapter, Maya Picali. So we're going to have the panelists read the stories in that order. So Stephanie.
Hello. So let me just share you a little bit about our Colorado team. So when Anna Krupinski, a mom in a farming community of Blue Valley, Colorado, started her Mothers Out Front team, the group spent their early mornings discussing the campaigns of other teams across the country. Anna's team would meet at the Alpine Restaurant and Bar in Georgetown, and they would talk about the work Mothers Out Front was doing. We looked at building electrification, electric vehicles, and pipeline stuff, but none really resonated with our community. I mean, we're a farming community. So the team read a study about methane pollution from cows, indicating each year a single cow would belch about 220 pounds of methane. Anna said, we knew that in this part of the state, folks were unlikely to get behind a campaign to cut out against meat consumption. But what if we cut back on cow burps? So luckily, this team member was a gastroenterologist, and Dr. Tana Mills was an idea. When humans eat too quickly, it can cause gas to build up and result in belching. So could the same be true for cows? So to test the theory, this group built a time release feeder, and they ran a test at a local farm, and they called them, I guess, cow monitors. And from the team, they watched 10 cows for 72 hours straight, and they documented the belching intervals and the belch duration around the clock. Now, sure enough, bovine burp frequency and length dropped. Now, the team soon launched a campaign targeting big cattle and challenging farmers and ranchers to bring in time-release feeding equipment, partnering with a local business in nearby Idaho Springs. The moms have been working to get their time-release feeder to large and small farms around the state. The Mountain Tool and Feed Country Store, whose motto is a little bit of everything, was only too happy to add this item to their diverse stock. So Tanya and Anna say they are only in the first phase of their outreach to farms in the state, but since every burp counts, they feel they are on the path to less methane pollution and much happier cows.
Very convincing. I don't know what's going to beat that, but that was very funny. The belch duration, oh my God.
Thank you, Stephanie. My story is from our wonderful teams in Virginia. So at an early meeting in November of our Adamsville, Virginia team, moms gathered to discuss campaign planning for 2022. Meeting host Andrea, shout out to you if you're out there tonight, set out a lovely spread of snacks for her teammates: coffee, pastries, some veggies and dip, and the unclaimed remnants of her kids' Halloween candy. As the moms rifled through the bowl in search of the elusive Snickers bar, several observed that their children ignored the same candies: Almond Joy, though I think that's controversial, Tootsie Rolls, off-brand taffies, and those hard butterscotch candies loved by grandmothers everywhere. It's just so wasteful, remarked one mom. On the other hand, I wouldn't wish a bunch of Bit-O-Honeys on my worst enemy. Andrea's eyes lit up. I would, she said. In fact, maybe a large delivery of crappy Halloween candy could encourage Caprock Energy to sweeten the deal on their timeline for a transition to renewables. With that, Sweeten the Deal Caprock was born. The moms put out a statewide call for Virginia Mothers Out Front members and their allies to descend on the Richmond headquarters of oil giant Caprock, and the call was answered. Moms from Fairfax to Hampton Roads collected the tossed aside candy from their neighbors and friends' kids and brought it to the Richmond team. On November 21, moms delivered 1,432 pounds of orphaned candy to the lobby of Caprock, the sickly sweet smell quickly permeating the executive offices. The moms held a banner declaring, "Caprock, we are here to sweeten the deal. No more dirty fossil fuels. Transition to renewables now." Andrea took the lead with the bullhorn chanting, "We are here to sweeten the deal," and "Meet today or we'll be back on February 15th with conversation hearts." The Richmond team thought ahead and contacted local TV WRIC Channel 8 to tell them about their sneaky and sweet plan. Reporter Autumn Childress was interviewing the moms when the CEO's chief of staff came to the lobby and agreed to a meeting between Mothers Out Front members and company executives on tomorrow, December 8th.
Love it. These are hard. Okay, I'm excited to hear the next one.
Ellen, take it away.
What do a flame, a heat pump, and a baton have to do with each other? Well, let me tell you. Andra Rose, a longtime volunteer in Western Mass, had an idea for a relay race to raise awareness about clean energy sources in the state and demand that elected officials and utility leaders commit to safe, affordable, renewable clean heat now. One chilly November day, moms, dads, grandmothers, grandfathers, and others got together to hold a multimodal relay race across the state. Their plan: using bikes, public transit, electric vehicles, and on foot, the clean heat messengers will carry our climate demands to the decision makers who have the power to make change happen. To keep utility execs in the dark, secret emails and texts went out to members across the state, asking them to show up in designated spots in order to pass the baton from one community to another. Dressed as gas flames, heat pumps, the sun and wind, and wearing Mothers Out Front t-shirts, our moms held a relay race across Massachusetts in places that sounded very much like the lyrics in a James Taylor song. Even children were engaged as a secret weapon, with toddlers making signs in Jamaica Plain and children holding signs that said, "Eversource, plan for our kids' future," and "We want clean energy, no more gas." Our members were hoping that if grandmas and moms couldn't move the executives, maybe the kids could. Beginning in Western Massachusetts, the moms biked across wooden-covered bridges to begin the 140-mile journey across the state to Boston. At each relay point, they passed a clean heat baton to a racer who carried it to the next point. Eventually ending up in front of National Grid and Eversource, the flame passed the baton to the heat pump, and then they did a victory dance after a long day of relay racing. Energized by their amazing race, using megaphones and fiery speeches, the moms demanded that these utilities pass on gas and build clean heat now. Susie, the gas flame, took the mic and exclaimed, "Sometimes you need to do some weird shit when you care about the climate." Within a couple of days of the relay, the utility execs had set up meetings with the moms. Our moms are fierce, fun, and fired up.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Do I have to say that one of these is not true? Is that the game?
You have to find the one that is true, but we're not done yet. We have
And there's one
for
more.
you.
Okay, I'm
from
listening.
San
I'm all ears.
Francisco.
But I'm so chilled by how convincing you all are. I'm like, are these actors? What is happening? Okay, great. I can't wait to hear the next one.
Maya, take it away.
All right. Hello. My story is about Kimberly Harvey, a San Francisco native and volunteer with Mothers Out Front, was horrified to learn that her local grocery co-op had stopped allowing reusable containers for bulk buying during COVID. Instead, they insisted on providing customers virgin material compostable bags to use for their bulk goods. Upon further research, she realized that not only were the bags impossible to pry open with a 10-month-old in hand, they did not compost well in the city's composting facility. Armed with this information, Kimberly and other volunteers with the local Mothers Out Front chapter knocked on City Hall doors until they got the Chamber of Merchant Associations to listen. Buying in bulk is a basic human right for a San Franciscan. What do you expect us to do with all of our mason jars? Kimberly asked of the Chamber's newly appointed zero waste specialist. Realizing that the mothers were not going to back down and that they might be able to help with even greater challenges facing the city, the Chamber asked the moms to join a task force to study the amount of waste being created by takeout containers during lockdown. In the interim months, Citizens for Bag Access, a lobbying group for the plastic bag industry, took notice and immediately bought billboard advertisements claiming that elderly folks carrying mason jars were at a much higher risk of arthritis, and that hot soup leaking out of compostable bags was a health hazard to the pigeons that called San Francisco home. Images of happy seniors carrying non-compostable, non-biodegradable plastic bags and images of unharmed pigeons flying freely were everywhere. Eventually, the volunteers petitioned the city to put an end to all the drama by demanding it issue a health order that allowed for bulk purchasing in reusable containers. The city's supervisors took note and allowed reusables, not only in bulk grocers, but in cafes and restaurants as well, forever making scalded pigeons a thing of the past. The members of Mothers Out Front San Francisco celebrated by getting takeout from Wild Seed in Cow Hollow, using their own takeaway containers, of course.
Of course.
So,
Amazing.
Maeve, which one of these is the real Mothers Out Front campaign? Was it Stephanie's The Mominators in Colorado who built a slow feeder to prevent bovine burps? Was it Jill's The Candy Wielding Moms in Virginia who created a campaign called Sweeten the Deal Caprock?
Yeah.
Was it Ellen's tale of a multimodal race across Massachusetts where moms dressed as heat sources and passed clean heat batons to each other? Or was it Maya's tale of SF moms who fought against the plastic bag industry and convinced the city to return to what is our birthright?
Your birthright of mason jars. I love that. Yeah, I mean, all very convincing. Again, I say that I am, chilled to the bone by how good you all are at lying / acting. Because I feel like the cows thing, the belch duration has really stayed with me. But I just think, one of the slogans being a little bit of everything, I was like, is that real? I was going to Google it and then I thought, no, that's cheating, so I didn't do that. But I did, the part of that I believe is that the moms do meet in a restaurant and bar I can see that happening very much so. And now I'm like, oh, I see why membership is so high. I see why this crowd is so energized, because they meet in bars, they meet in restaurants. I love that. But I don't know, the Belch duration, I don't know about that one. Then we have the sweeten the deal. And I really do think that's a really good plan. But I also know that in every household, there is one person who's willing to take the hit and eat that candy. There's always going to be somebody who packs away the Tootsie Rolls, you know? So while in theory, yes, that is a possibility, I just think it's unlikely because of, and I mean, I think we all know we're talking about dads. I think dads, you know, they're the vacuum cleaners of the house, you know, they're really, really great at a lot of things. And, you know, and one of those things is being the kind of, I want to say, garbage bins of the family, the kind of, you know, they will get rid of any unwanted sugar at Halloween. So I'm voting for, but the final one, yeah, the final one, I haven't spent a lot of time in San Francisco, but scalded pigeons, no longer, yeah, that one, you know what, it was so beautifully told, and Maya is such a poet that I feel like that's not true. And there was also a little child next to her smiling. So I thought, well, those two are up to something. I said, Maya, that's not true at all. So I'm going to go for, but very good attempt, very, very good attempt to you both, Maya and the little fibber, little liar beside her with the little pigtails.
That's me, Ma.
Well done, you did such a good job, but I don't believe you. I'm gonna go for the you know, the ride where people dress like the wind, because I thought, how can you dress like the wind? And then I thought, listen, these women are resourceful. Somehow they would have figured out how to dress like the wind. And I believe that happened. And I believe that they were so energized and that they put together all of their skills and that they made that happen. So I'm going for that one. You know, trying to get better sources, renewable heat sources. I think that's the one I'm going for.
Well, we spoke to someone who knows the real story.
I'm listening.
So inspired by a very good looking heat pump attached to the back of Susie's house, I dressed up as a heat pump and she dressed up as a giant gas leak.
Oh,
and I almost passed out because the fumes to paint that box were really powerful, but it was very worth it because it was a freezing day, and like a good heat pump, that box kept me very warm. As we went, that whole team joined hundreds of moms across the state to deliver 3,000 postcards to our utility execs.
Look at that. Oh, well done. Congratulations. That's magnificent. It's so funny and it's so effective. Thanks, Anya. Look at that box. That's hilarious. Okay, so Anna, I got the answer right.
Congratulations.
So,
You did get it right. The multimodal relay race from Massachusetts is the winner, and so are you, Maeve.
Awesome. Thank you, Anya. I'm thrilled.
Congratulations, Meg. You have a whole new winning. Okay, now the pressure's really on this weekend on Wait When, right? Because you won once before, you won tonight, and you know, three's a charm or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. I get your voice on my answer.
Yeah, my voice on you. Yeah, you're really lucky. You're really lucky. Well, Maeve, thank you again so much for joining us tonight and playing the game with us. It's been so wonderful having you.
No, it's been my honor. And I just
Yeah.
love to say to you and to all the moms that, like, parents are so powerful, and I already admire all of you so much just for being moms, because I think like that should be enough. Like even the laundry alone, being a mom should be enough work for one person, let alone being responsible for other tiny people's health and happiness. But on top of that, I know that a lot of you work outside the home. And on top of that, here you all are taking on this huge existential threat that, you know, the biggest one our species has ever faced. And the only way to get through climate chaos is together, right? So it's very exciting, and it's very I don't know the word, but like hope giving to meet you all, learn about what you're doing. And thank you for the time and the energy that, you know, you're creating and that you're giving. So thank you, and please be good to yourselves today and enjoy the evening. And thanks so much for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you, Maeve, and thank you for all you do to make the world a better place for all of us. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of it. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
And I just want to give a shout out to our amazing writers and readers tonight, Jill, Stephanie, Anya, and Maya. Thank you all so much. That was super fun. Maybe we'll actually be on Wait, Don't Tell Me. So I'm going to just spend a couple minutes reading some of the shout outs, the appreciations, and then we'll move to our next part of the evening. So thank you, Janet Grote, for being an organizing rock star. Janet. Thank you, Renu Boswick, for your tireless efforts for the Bedford chapter. Incredibly thankful for all my amazing colleagues on staff, especially Janet and Anne. That's from Laura Davis. Janet, Laura, Anne, and other Mass staff, MALT leaders, chapter coordinators, state teams, Mass leaders, emerging leaders, and members. Shout out to Anne Wright, who I've known for 30 plus years. With her continuous and deep commitment to organizing and change, she invited me to host Mothers Out Front party and house party in 2016. I finally get to work with her. How lucky I was to work and learn from Vanessa. All the Anns. And then shout out to Shauna for keeping so many things running smoothly and for being delightful. Anya, I appreciate you. She doesn't want me to tell you how much I appreciate her, but I'm gonna sneak it in.
Oh my God. And I think there is just so much outpouring of gratitude here from our members to our staff, to each other, staff to staff. It's just amazing to read that. As we usher in this new year, we want to know what you're hopeful for in 2022. So in the chat, put in a word or two about something that gives you hope as we go into 2022. Be brief, because we want to make a word cloud of this. And when we get back from this next segment, we will display the word cloud of all of our thoughts.
Great. While everybody is populating the chat, I want to do a special appreciation. As many of you know, are we going to switch to the picture? Yes, as many of you know, our co-founder, Vanessa Rule, has transitioned out of Mothers Out Front to take a job closer to her home as a statewide organizer with Vermont350.org. We would like to take a few minutes reflecting on Vanessa's role at Mothers Out Front, and we'll start by sharing a few short video appreciations from moms who worked closely with Vanessa over the years.
Hi, Vanessa. Since I was at one of the very first Mothers Out Front house parties you gave, maybe it's fitting that I'm here again for you tonight. When Barack Obama was running and the press kept referring to him as a community organizer, I remember wondering what that meant. But boy, I sure learned from you in a 6-year series of crash courses that started that night at Neely's house party. It was your sense of urgency and your deep knowledge that got me hooked. But it wasn't just that, or your particular brand of intensity that kept me going when the work got really hard. It was your huge heart. You always led with love, coaching me and coaxing me, giving me the skills and the confidence I needed to do so many things outside my comfort zone, including speaking in public like this. Anyone who studies movement building learns about the importance of personal relationships. But why wade through all that Marshall Gans when all you have to do is look at us? I love you. Bye.
Hi, Vanessa. It's such an honor to get to do this appreciation for you. And it was always such a huge learning experience for me to get to work with you. You are a super hero. You are a superwoman. Your unending energy, your incredible mind, your vision for the world, your caring, and you know how much you care about making the world a better place. There's so many things I could go on, but this is supposed to be short. So thank you. I know that working together for us was not always the easiest thing. And what I really appreciated was your ability to just stick in there with me and just, stay in there. And that is really special. You're a powerful, brilliant, inspiring leader and organizer and world changer. And I wish you all the best in everything you take on next.
So I wanted to take just a few minutes to share my appreciation of Vanessa and reflect on our experience starting Mothers Out Front together 9 years ago. I met Vanessa first in the fall of 2012 at a climate protest in front of the federal building downtown. I had the idea of bringing moms together as a force to fight for a livable climate for our children, and yet I didn't know where to start, and I didn't have the courage to do it alone. When I met Vanessa and learned that she also had young kids and had been organizing around climate here in Massachusetts for a long time, I was so excited that I practically grabbed her by the shoulders and I told her about my idea. She agreed to meet me for lunch the following week, and within a month, we had brought together our first gathering of moms in my living room. A few weeks after that, she had transitioned out of her previous job and was working full-time organizing moms. Vanessa and I and our founding leadership team didn't hesitate to plunge into this work together, but she was the strategic organizer, and we learned how to follow her lead. In the winter of 2012, Vanessa and I facilitated 23 house parties over a 3-month period, iterating our presentation as we went. In June of that year, we had a big announcement party where we shared our stories of self, us, and now. We read our Declaration of Independence from fossil fuels, and we launched 5 Boston area community teams. We were officially launched as a movement. Mothers Out Front owes its early success to many people, among them our founding leadership team, the moms who offered to host those early house parties, Marshall Gans and Joy Cushman, who provided invaluable coaching, our very first staff hires, a handful of key funding partners, but it was Vanessa who brought the deep commitment to organizing. She was, as she put it, like a dog with a bone when it came to organizing principles. Here are some of the things that Vanessa used to regularly say. Never lose an opportunity to engage a new mom. When a job needs to be done, ask someone new to do it, because every job is a chance to develop someone's leadership. We need to create interdependent snowflakes. According to Marshall, who are your people and what are your resources? The system will always respond to the need for more capacity if people have the skills to make it happen. And then, my very favorite, do you realize the planet is burning? As everyone here tonight can attest to, organizing is really hard work, and Vanessa has always embraced that work. She brings her whole heart to her organizing. She is driven by her passion and her courage and guided by her caring for others. She is the definition of a lifelong learner and works as hard as anyone I have ever known. I'm going to get teary now. Vanessa, you have been a joy to work with and such a source of inspiration for all of us at Mothers Out Front. Thank you. We love you and we will miss you, and we will look forward to continuing to work alongside you, just from a greater distance, in creating a more livable planet for children and communities everywhere. Thank you.
The beautiful word cloud that you just saw is a gift that Vanessa will receive from Mothers Out Front as in our gratitude and a reminder of who you are and who we are because of you. Thank you, Vanessa. We're now going to move into another word cloud. Anya, let's see. Do we have it?
I have it. I can share it out if I wasn't sure if I can share it out, but here we go.
There we go. Wow.
So we have a lot of community rallies, environmental justice, mom power, saying yes, sisterhood, some amazing things that our members and our mothers really value and are hoping for in 2022. And we're hoping we can make that a reality for you as well.
Thank you all for participating in the hope for 2022. I know we all could use hope for our work. So as we look forward to the next year, we want to toast you, offer you solidarity, support, and community in striving in this work that we all do together for a livable climate for all children. Do you have your glasses, your Mothers Out Front glass? I want to see them. And if you don't have your Mothers Out Front glass, any glass will do. Cheers. How about unmute? Cheers.
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 Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
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 Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
So the events of the last 2 years have been challenging for everyone, our members, our staff, our funding partners. Many of the challenges still persist. We know we'll endure. That's just what moms do, but the moment we are in requires us all to pitch in and dig deep to do what we can to ensure that moms in our movement continue to have the resources, the tools, the inspiration to build power and fight together for climate justice. In the inspiration, I think we have taken care of today, but for resource and tools, we would just love for you to pitch in. We have a generous match from our partners at the Gordon and Laura Gunn Foundation. Every donation that we get in the month of December will be matched dollar for dollar until we hit $100,000. So let's not leave a penny of this generous matching challenge on the table. I hope you'll consider a gift tonight. There is going to be a link in the chat that you can use to donate. You can also visit our website or you can email giving@mothersoutfront.org.
And finally, we would like to invite you to a workshop on Thursday evening called So You Want to Be an Ally. It's at from 8 to 9:30 Eastern Time, 5 to 6:30 Pacific Time this Thursday. And the link to the event page will be in the chat. And sorry about my dog. We will hope that you'll stick around and hang out and chat with each other. And we're going to play a little music for an impromptu dance party. But thank you all so much for being with us tonight, for all the work you do every day of the year. And we're so grateful for you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Let's do the bass and play like, oh, we'll all
Come on, Maya. You can do better.
And then maybe the sloth over there.
Yeah, Davina. Lily, I like the shoulder moves.
Working out stiffness from the gym.
That's a good one. Use your workout moves.
Madeline, I want to give shout out to Madeline for breaking it down. Woohoo! I know this is Keisha's jam. Keisha. I see your head banging, Velma.
Hi, Velma. I was starting to miss you. We haven't met in 2 days.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we had nuclear free Pueblo meeting. That's our campaign against the plan to replace our coal-fired power plant with a nuclear power plant. So it's a pretty lively campaign, but it overlapped with the party. So everybody said hi. and thanks to Mothers Out Front nationally for being in our community and working with us. So it's a great bunch of folks. Do we have any Tool on the playlist?
Who did you ask for? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Hey, oh, I didn't have a contribution to the playlist, but I like Tool and Metallica and
I can find that for you.
hip hop and so at any rate, y'all are great. Yeah,
Great to have you here,
my
Velma.
musical Ellen, my musical identity did sort of stop at age 15. Somebody else is 15.
It's great to have you here, Velma. We've heard so much about you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I talk about y'all all the time. And we're just really happy in Pueblo to have Mothers Out Front represented here. And to have such good organizers working with us in Colorado. So,
Yeah.
So.
Amina, shout out for that awesome video.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all members for doing all the work so I can make all these beautiful videos.
And the Minas visited us a couple of times. We had a good time.
It was so good to see you, Amina.
Huh?
Hi, Billy.
It was so good to see you a few months ago.
I know. I was so glad I could make a trip to New York.
Yep.
Kudos to you for finding the music for Mina.
Mhm.
Turns
Yep.
out I'm a good DJ.
Yep.
Good to see you, Carol. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yep.